President Donald Trump's mercurial personality has been under intense scrutiny in his own country and beyond. Many of his personality traits and governing style have been widely commented upon and discussed. What is perhaps under-recognised but more consequential, especially for his foreign policy, is how he takes initiatives or starts an endeavour but never finishes them. He embarks on a course of action but doesn't see it through to bring it to closure. Whether this is because of his short attention span, lack of staying power or consistency, the result is half-done ventures. Among the reasons for this is that he sets unrealistic objectives, and when he finds they are unattainable, he moves on. Trump changes course when he cannot get his own way. Rather than try to fix the issue at hand, he prefers to kick the can down the road. He switches attention almost randomly from one policy area to another, leaving issues unresolved. Dude, my gosh, there's a whole fleet of them. They're all going against the wind. Look at that thing. It's rotating. While this may sound like a scene from a sci-fi film, these were the voices of US Navy aviators reacting to an object detected by military sensors in footage later known as gimbal. The Pentagon formally released that video along with two others in 2020, confirming that they showed what it described as unidentified aerial phenomena. In May 2026, the Pentagon began releasing more declassified UAP material in batches through the Presidential Unsealing and Report System for UAP Encounters, known as PERSHU, hundreds of files and more than 50 videos, including historical records of green orbs, discs and fireballs, as well as newer military-linked footage. This, in its simplest form, is known as the unidentified anomalous phenomena.
Fee structure is on par with private universities, but facilities are nowhere near the same standard, laments a student. Cuts admits students are suffering, holds bad administration responsible for their woes. Students wonder why CM Sindh remains silent spectators to crisis at country's largest university, Karachi. Nearly 50 Zuzan students at the country's largest university have been left in limbo as the teachers' boycott of semester examinations over what they claimed unpaid dues enters its fourth week, disrupting academic plans and causing growing anxiety among students and their parents. The United States has issued a notice affirming its restrictions on shipments of semiconductors to subsidiaries of Chinese companies located outside China amid concerns about loopholes in Washington's export control regime. The Department of Commerce said in the guidance issued on Sunday that its licensing requirements for the export of advanced AI chips applied to all businesses with headquarters or a parent company in China.
The government must stop shifting the cost of weak revenue mobilisation onto households and the corporate sector and instead offer targeted tax relief to offset the burden imposed in recent years, including a reduction in the petroleum levy. While support for the most vulnerable remains necessary given high poverty levels, sustained job-creating growth is vital. It is unreasonable to tax a monthly income of $50,000, which falls below the amount required for a family's subsistence. To make the tax regime more logical and equitable, the income tax threshold should be raised to $1.5 million per annum, Rs. $125,000 per month from the current Rs. $600,000. The tax slabs and rates should then be recalibrated accordingly to preserve progressivity while providing meaningful relief to low-income earners.
28 years after the nuclear tests at Chagai, the strategic environment in South Asia has shifted dramatically. The assumptions that shaped Pakistan's deterrence posture in 1998 and the paradigm shift from credible minimum deterrence to full-spectrum deterrence were rooted in visions of a conventional invasion, mass mobilization and large-scale armored thrusts across the border.
President Donald Trump has requested that edits be made to the US-Iran deal aimed at bringing an end to fighting that began earlier this year. US media reported the changes are related to the Strait of Hormuz and the removal of highly enriched uranium. CBS News, the BBC's US news partner, reported. The White House did not respond to a request for comment.
Colombia's presidential election will go to a runoff on the 20th of June between a leftist and right-wing candidate on opposite ends of the political spectrum. After Sunday's vote produced no overall winner, the right-wing Abelardo de la Espriella, an admirer of Donald Trump, came top in the vote, followed closely by the left-wing Senator Ivan Cepeda, an ally of the current president Gustavo Petro.
Far-right outsider Abelardo de la Espriella will face left-wing Senator Ivan Cepeda in the runoff for Colombia's presidential election next month. After polls closed on Sunday, the two candidates quickly surged ahead in the vote tally, extinguishing the hopes of right-wing Senator Paloma Valencia, a former frontrunner.
Brooklyn Rivera, an indigenous leader, politician and activist, has died at age 73 after years in Nicaraguan state custody, prompting outcry from rights advocates. On Sunday, Nicaragua's government attributed his cause of death to a bacterial infection that took hold after a bout of COVID-19. Ras Baraka, the mayor of Newark in New Jersey, has imposed a curfew on the area surrounding Delaney Hall, the immigration detention centre that has become a flashpoint in the debate over United States President Donald Trump's mass deportation drive.
The Sunday morning announcement came amid tensions outside the detention centre, which is run by the private contractor Geo Group, as part of a 15-year deal with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE.
Virat Kohli's unbeaten 75 and inspired bowling-led Royal Challengers Bengaluru (RCB) to their second straight Indian Premier League (IPL) title. With a 5-wicket win against Gujarat Titans, Bengaluru restricted Gujarat to 155-8, a total they chased down with 12 balls to spare, after Kohli reached his 5th half-century of the season in a lopsided final in Ahmedabad on Sunday.
Environmental activist Erin Brockovich has a new mission, bringing more transparency to data centre construction and the impact those data centres have on nearby communities. Brockovich, who was famously played by Julia Roberts in a film dramatising her legal case against Pacific Gas and Electric, recently launched a website with a map of data centres across the United States.
A military official from Pakistan has said that the country's resolute response to India during the May 2025 conflict had effectively debunked the notion of space for war in South Asia. Commander First Corps Lieutenant General Nauman Zakaria made these remarks during a special session at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore on Saturday.
Carcass of a dead humpback whale whose attempted rescue captivated many across Germany has been pulled ashore. Timmerlapse footage published by German news site News 5 on Saturday showed the whale being towed slowly onto a beach on the Danish island of Anholt by an industrial winch. Intends to conduct a post-mortem examination on Thursday.
A blast on Sunday at a building in northeastern Myanmar, said to have been storing explosives for mining, has killed more than 45 people, according to rescue workers and independent media reports. About 70 other people were injured in the explosion that took place around noon in the village of Kaungtup in Namkham Township. Lawmakers in the United States are quietly advancing a proposal that could deepen military ties between the US and Israel in unprecedented ways, at a time when public support for Israel among Americans is increasingly fractured. Among the provisions included in the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, released this week, is Section 224, the United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. Two lawmakers in the United States Congress are pushing to repeal a section in an upcoming defence budget that would deepen integration between the US and Israeli militaries. Their effort comes amid outcry against the latest draft of the annual National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, a bill that sets the budget for the US military.
After criticizing a startup called Artisan for misusing his work, artist KC Green, creator of the famous "This is Fine" meme, said he's reached an agreement with Artisan. The dispute arose after the startup appeared to use a version of Green's art to promote its AI assistant Ava. Green's recognizable dog sat amid recognizable flames, but instead of saying "This is fine," it declared, "My pipeline is on fire." Well, Kine is on fire, while the ad urged people to hire Ava the AI BDR.
The YouTube to Prestige horror pipeline is looking very strong this weekend. Taking the #1 spot at the box office is Backrooms, a feature film expansion of Kane Parsons' series of YouTube videos featuring eerie found footage of a mysterious office space drawn from a 4chan thread that defies physics.
Rawalpindi, Islamabad. 6,000 Punjab police personnel are being deployed in Gilgit-Baltistan ahead of the June 7 election. It emerged on Sunday as the PTI reiterated its allegations of pre-poll rigging. Punjab authorities had initially approved the deployment of 5,000 personnel to GB and later gave the nod for the deployment of 1,000 more police personnel.
A military official from Pakistan has said that the country's resolute response to India during the May 2025 conflict had effectively debunked the notion of space for war in South Asia. Commander First Corps Lieutenant General Nauman Zakaria made these remarks during a special session at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore on Saturday. Aida refugee camp is surrounded by Israel's separation wall, military watchtowers and remote-controlled guns. This Eid, for the first time in 2 years, residents set up stalls, cooked food, made art and let their kids play. They called it the Bazaar of Return. Al Jazeera's Leila Wada reports.
Dozens of people have been killed in an explosion in northeast Myanmar near the border with China. Local media and a rebel group have said the exact death toll in Sunday's blast in the village of Kaung Tat in Shan State was not immediately clear.
Rawalpindi, Islamabad. 6,000 Punjab police personnel are being deployed in Gilgit-Baltistan ahead of the June 7 election. It emerged on Sunday as the PTI reiterated its allegations of pre-poll rigging. Punjab authorities had initially approved the deployment of 5,000 personnel to GB and later gave the nod for the deployment of 1,000 more police personnel.
Some of those freed from a flooded cave in Laos are helping in efforts to find the last 2 missing men trapped inside. Rescuers have said. So far, 5 of the 7 initially missing have been rescued, but it is believed the remaining 2 men are trapped deeper inside the cave in a mountainous area of the central Zaisei-Sonban province.